What's up guys, it's Igor from Vitruvian Physique, and you know what time it is? That's right, it's time for yet another informational video. Bitch, get ready to learn.
Oh my god! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm!
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
Okay, but in all seriousness, this video focuses on a very important topic. This is a question that I get asked a lot, particularly by younger people or maybe those newer to fitness. This is the question, can you build muscle and lose fat at the same time? And the answer to that question is no. Okay, but in all seriousness, it is not impossible, although be it extremely difficult and usually only a possibility for certain individuals in certain circumstances, which we're going to get into a little bit later in the video. But before I get into that, I want to talk about the 3 different phases that your body is constantly in. And to do that, we need to transform! What's up guys, I am bulking physique and I'm shredding physique. Unlike my friend over here, I focus on growing and getting strong as hell. Bitch, you fat as hell. Shut the fuck up, do you even lift? Bulking, or as I like to call it, bear mode, is pretty much when your body is in an anabolic or growing state. Pretty much you are taking in additional calories over your caloric maintenance level. You are actively synthesizing protein. You have a surplus of anabolic hormones running through your system, assuming you are training and you are consuming sufficient protein. You are getting stronger, you are getting bigger, and unfortunately a side effect of that is you're going to put on a little bit of fat, or a lot of fat depending on how fast exactly you are bulking and how much of a caloric surplus you are eating in. You done yet, fat boy? Okay, thank you. Alright, shredding, or cutting physique as I like to call it, is all about being in a caloric deficit. That means we are consuming less calories than our maintenance level, and we are essentially trying to lose as much body fat as possible and trying our best to retain as much muscle mass as possible. This is not always easy because even though you may be consuming adequate protein, your protein synthesis is still going to slow down, your anabolic hormone release is still going to slow down dramatically, and at times you may feel like shit. The reason because of that is when you are eating less calories, probably because you're consuming less carbohydrates, your body is going to go through separate energy sources. First, it's going to burn through all of your glucose, that's your simple carbohydrates, sugars in your stomach. Then it's going to burn through your glycogen, that's your longer lasting carbohydrate stores, pretty much your last line of defense for the carbs. In your liver, that takes about 2 to 3 days. And we are going to be cutting into fat loss, which is what we want, baby! Another unfortunate side effect which does happen is when you are eating so little calories and so little carbs and you are doing a lot of activity, for example cardio, occasionally you do start to burn up muscle and protein as an energy source. This is unfortunate, but it is a side effect which happens with long periods of dieting. That's why even though you may lose 30 pounds of body weight during a contest prep, only 22 pounds of it may be coming from fat. The other 5 to 8 pounds is muscle. Even so, at the end of the day, taking all of our differences into consideration, there is one more phase, and it's something that even my tubby friend here and I can agree on. We hate maintenance physique. Hi there. Oh. I am maintenance physique. I like to eat in a caloric maintenance. That's 2,800 calories every day. We're not putting on muscle, we're not getting stronger, and we're not losing fat. We are staying 100% mediocre. My hobbies include going for long walks throughout the city by myself, where I avoid eye contact with strangers, white bread without the crust for maintenance calories, of course, and bumping into women on the bus, then imagining our lives together without actually having the courage to talk to them. Some have called me the Ned Flanders of bodybuilding, and gosh jolly, that's fine by me.
Oakley dokley.
Okay guys, but in all seriousness, obviously you can tell I'm a little bit biased towards either side of the spectrum. I like bulking because you're getting bigger, you're getting stronger, you're progressing slowly, month by month, week by week, day by day towards your ideal, physique. And then afterwards you cut down, for maybe like 5 to 6 months out of a year, or out of every 2 years, if you want to bulk a little bit longer. And either case is fantastic. I am not a big fan of maintenance because it's boring. It's pretty much a synonym for staying the same. But again, that's just my opinion. If you are happy with your physique where you are, more power to you. Okay guys, but getting back on topic, can you build muscle and lose fat at the same time? For the majority of my viewers, people who have been training for a reasonable amount of time, we're talking 1 to 2 years or more, maybe 5, 6, 7, 10 years, For you guys, unfortunately, I believe that ship has sailed. The reason being that it's very difficult and pretty much impossible to be both in a catabolic cutting and anabolic, growing stage at the same time. Some people will advocate that it's possible if you switch back and forth within a medium time range. We're talking 1 to 3 months. And that's not necessarily wrong. I just don't advocate that because there's a good chance you'll end up doing both things poorly as opposed to one thing, bulking or cutting, doing it well. Some people advocate that you can do it in the same day if you have appropriate meal timing. So pretty much you eat like an excess caloric surplus, but you eat it with intermittent fasting. And I do not believe that for a second. There isn't as much science which stands up to it. But then again, this topic is kind of shady. Not many people do scientific research on bodybuilding, methodologies or techniques. They have bigger things to, focus on, like trying to cure cancer and like AIDS. And I don't necessarily blame them for not focusing on like, how does Vitruvian physique get shredded and big at the same time? Then there's also these weird like foods that are supposed to apparently give you the ability to do so. So we're talking like, I've heard things as random as chili powder, lemon water, green tea. Number one, they don't work as like fat burners by themselves. So they definitely do not work as some kind of magical object which is going to allow you to be in 2 phases at the same time. That's like trying to look left and right simultaneously. Not going to happen. It's pretty much like if you were trying to get bigger, but lose fat at the same time, it's like you're trying to build a house, and so you need bricks, but simultaneously you're burning those bricks up. So you're trying to build a house with nothing. It just doesn't work. Then there are 2 groups of individuals who can do this. The first is those on steroids. These guys, they can do it. You know why? Because it's steroids. It's friggin' magic. The laws of physics no longer apply. Your body does weird shit. I've heard of guys cutting, Mr. Olympia's cutting on 5,000 calories. And I've heard of people bulking, getting stronger, getting bigger, putting on like 12 pounds of muscle in 1 month while eating 1,900 calories. Protein synthesis, anabolic hormones, everything's all over the place. I don't really know 100% enough to actually talk about it because I myself don't obviously experiment with performance enhancing drugs, and I don't see the need for me to research these things to like large amounts. So that's all I'm going to say on that topic. And the third category,
and by third I mean second, nice job, you are apparently counting to 2 is beyond my ability.
This is going to be important for a lot of you newer guys out there watching this. These people are beginners to fitness who may be skinny fat or a bit overweight, and they can build muscle and lose fat at the same time 100% naturally. Okay, getting into the science of why that is possible. This comes from an article on bodyrecomposition.com by Lyle McDonald. For those of you that don't know, this is a guy in the fitness industry who is way smarter than me, you, and probably 99.99% of the people watching this video. I will link that article down below in the description. I've read the article and there's a lot of science in there. Even me with an undergrad in this field, took a couple read-throughs. So I'm going to try to break it down for you guys as simply as possible. Pretty much I'm going to be a scientific translator. So the way it works is pretty much individuals who are new to training or have never trained in their life and are also, somewhat or extensively overweight, they actually develop somewhat insulin-resistant fat cells. For those of you that don't know, insulin is a very important hormone in your body which regulates the metabolism of carbohydrates and fats by triggering the absorption of glucose. This is why people who are diabetic and have low or no insulin end up with hyperglycemia, because pretty much they have all this sugar in their blood and they can't actually absorb it by their fat cells or their muscle cells or whatever. So they end up with, theoretically, if you were to taste their pee, it would be extremely sweet. So pretty much the way fat gain works in your body is you have a somewhat consistent number of fat cells. These fat cells can grow bigger and smaller depending on how much of a caloric surplus or deficit you are in, and how many carbs and fats you are consuming. In rare circumstances, when you do consume like a big caloric surplus, almost like binge eating, your fat cells can actually swell up to the point where they actually will start replicating. And the scary thing is your fat cells can split and increase in number, but they will never decrease in number, which means that in the future, if you decide to like binge and get fat, they'll divide and you'll go from 2 cells to 4 cells to 8 cells, whatever. But then when you start to cut down, those cells will shrink, but they will not destroy themselves. They're not going to degrade. It's not like your body's like, oh, we're going to go up to 8 and then come back to 2. It doesn't work like that. I'll probably make a video on that in the future. Either way, so the thing is, when your fat cells become insulin resistant, that means that even though your body is signaling, you know, hey, food's incoming, it's time to start metabolizing, digesting, and absorbing these fatty acids, your fat cells will actually not absorb these fat cells or triglycerides because it doesn't want to. It's like a person who's full, he's just done. But at the same time, because you are new to training, if you were to hypothetically start training properly with good nutrition, we're talking, you know, adequate protein and, you know, somewhat of a caloric surplus and a good training regimen focusing on hypertrophy, isolation exercises, as well as heavy, intense compounds, your body is going to have such a stimulation to all of its muscles, something that us more experienced lifters cannot have. Legit, like someone who's never trained before can go in the gym, and if they bust their ass and if they train properly and, you know, they get up to like a 1-plate squat if they're lucky for 5 reps, their body will get more stimulation than guys like me or you who are experienced if they were to go to the gym and, you know, lift like 400 pounds on the squats and do like 10 sets of like 5 or something. And we can pass out, but the stimulation will still be more for them because it's all about what your body's not used to. If you are big and you are fit, then you got that way by giving yourself constant stimulation. So even if you were to kick your own ass in the gym, sure, good job, but your body is somewhat used to it, which is why we try to increase the weight all the time, switch things up in our routine and progressively overload because we want to give our bodies a little bit more stimulation. But those younger or newer to fitness guys, any stimulation to them is new and awesome stimulation. So for these individuals, you know, younger, newer to fitness, because they get so much stimulation to their muscles and their body can't really, you know, get any fatter, even though they may be in a caloric surplus, what ends up happening is it's very simple for them to gain lean body mass, which means they may gain 10 pounds in like 2 months, and all 10 pounds are muscle. That's fantastic. They may gain not 1 pound of fat because their body doesn't want to, you know, add extra fat because the fat cells are full, they're insulin resistant, and because it has no need, because your body's finally, you know, has a reason to put on and build muscle. In fact, in some cases, it's actually very plausible for them to extract energy out of the cells and essentially almost redirect it to your muscles because they are what need it now because you're finally training. This is what some people call noob gains. This is probably the best time in your training life or training career, which is great because lots of times, you know, guys who are getting into it, they need immediate gratification, they need immediate motivation, and this is fantastic because if they stick with it just for 3 to 6 months and if they do things properly, they'll probably experience more gains in that amount of time than potentially the rest of their lifting career. I'm not kidding, guys. There are people who will put on 20 pounds of muscle in their first year, and then they'll put on 20 pounds of muscle for the rest of their life, year 2 and onwards, even though they may be training way better with way more nutrition and way more weight. That's just the power of noob gains. In addition, there is kind of another group of individuals who can somewhat, put on muscle and lose body fat at the same time. These are individuals who used to be fit, used to train, used to lift, and then they gave up and they got out of shape. And you know, it's been years, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. For them, it seems it is also plausible to put on muscle and lose body fat at the same time, partly because of this insulin resistance that I just mentioned, assuming that they did, you know, get out of shape and get kind of fat. You can also attribute this to muscle memory, although this is a bit of bro science, and the articles I read didn't really focus on that, as it's very difficult to actually isolate, you know, people. Hey, were you jacked and now you're no longer jacked? Okay, let's look at you. But maybe an interesting example is the Hodge twins, because as we all know, they were, you know, fairly fit in their early 20s, then they took a lot of time off, they had families, they had kids, they had work, they had whatever, they got out of shape, and then, you know, in their late 30s, they got jacked as hell really fast. That a lot of people actually say it's on steroids, and it's crazy because they did it so much and they did it so fast. Well, perhaps it's a combination of A, obviously they have great genetics, which I've mentioned before, and B, this whole concept of athletes who were once fit, lost it, and then regained it back, putting on muscle, losing fat at the same time. It is a possibility. In conclusion, guys, if you are a noob, then enjoy it, train hard, and you will do things which are going to be considered magic for the rest of us who have been training for 2, 3, 4, whatever years. For those who are more experienced in training but still interested in, you know, gaining muscle and losing fat at the same time, I don't think you should try and do it. There's a good chance you'll end up doing two things poorly as opposed to one thing well. I would much rather you take the time to, you know, grow in size and strength and then cut down and just kind of repeat these cycles. And maybe if you feel like it, enter a maintenance level. But if you try to do both things at the same time, I think there's a good quote here. You try to be a jack of all trades, but you end up as a master of none. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned a thing or two. If you disagree with me, that's completely okay. Like I said, I know some stuff and I've done some research, but I do not claim in any way, shape, or form to know everything. And I implore you to leave a comment so that we can have, you know, like a little discussion or something. So guys, if you like this video, leave it a like. That really helps my channel grow and, you know, kind of get out there. And once again, thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I cannot tell you guys that enough.
Have a good night, you guys.
Fuck off.